Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 7 of the season, coming to you today from Summit Point. My name is Ron Maunz, and alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. Well, Josh, this is far from the first time that we have been here in the Formula Vs at Summit Point and played host to the first ever FV race here on SMB, so we're rather familiar with this combination, and it is quite infamous, I think, in the world of Formula Vs in the same way that a Daytona or Talladega is in the NASCAR world.
Yeah, you've got that right, Ron. It's not the first time we've been here, that's for sure. We know this place pretty well. It always races amazingly well. It's one of those races, at least for myself, that I'm excited going into because I really love this track, but it's one of those races, again, where you have to survive. It's pretty tight around here. The second half of the course is pretty technical. It's pretty fast. It's really easy to get a nose where it shouldn't be. It's really easy to miss a braking point, especially into this section. We are just watching Samuel Parent go through right now, real easy through that kink and through here. To think you kind of have a run on somebody and try to get it right and get it very wrong, as we've seen many times. Big long rip down the front straight as well for everybody to catch up and try pass into T1. So it should be a pretty interesting one here. And of course, our drivers all know this place really well too. So I would imagine it's going to be a bit of a barn burner today.
Yeah, it will most certainly be a race of fear for many racers up and down the field. Now, whether they can tackle the fear well or not, as I get my tongue wrapped around my teeth, we'll just have to find out. Do want to give some love to Andrew Love, the sponsor of today's broadcast. He usually works as the other sound tech here at Summit Point, and as somebody who spent many moons in the karts and a decent amount of time in shifter karts in the SCCA on the autocross side of things, who nearly actually raced at Summit Point back in 2022 and 2023. I'm glad that Andrew never got to deal with some of the shifter karts that we used to run up here in the Philly region. Otherwise, I feel like he would be a lot more hostile towards me because he'd probably have some hearing damage as a result. Darme Toomey, who we ride on board with right now, is your current provisional pole sitter in the number 13 car. Andrew Love, who just talked about him, is currently your top qualifier of the Masters competitors, slotted in 5th. There he is in the 944 machine. And Christopher Siriano, who we haven't seen in quite some time here in this series, is currently your top qualifier in the Spec 2 class, although Jason Grider is directly in tow, just set in a quick time in his own right, only 0.6 of a second slower than Siriano's. Angel Soto actually got to jump up right in front, right as we were mentioning it. It's going to get frenetic here in the race, but even in qualifying, it's a little bit froggy.
Yeah, I think, there's probably a lot of drivers who have a lap around here. I believe Alan DeGasse is actually on a bit of a flyer at the moment as well here, currently holding P7, about to come across the line here with at least one purple sector and a green sector. We'll see how this third sector goes for him here, but it looks like he is going to jump. Oh, nope, that was Jim Brewster up to second place, actually, there. So a good lap for him with a 22.194. Alan DeGasse is moving up one position to sixth place with a 127.2. And we can see that, wow, those tolerances are pretty close up at the front there, aren't they, Ron? Darma Toomey kind of running away with her here with getting into the O's, but then we have a 0.1, 0.1, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, 0.3, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 just clicked in from Christopher Serrano. So it's a pretty close field out there for sure, and I have a feeling that's the way it's going to be around this track. We are in for a good race today, I think.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun one. We're going to be a little bit nervous here in the broadcast booth, just based off the amount of vocal cord damage we'll probably do between now and the end of the show. But nowhere near as nervous as the drivers out there on the racetrack. Seeing some racers make their return to this series. We mentioned Christopher Siriano, who's still up towards the top of the Spec 2 class. But up in the north end of the field, Justin Huffman, your current provisional pole sitter. Huffman, a veteran of Ray Esports competition, both in the Tuesday night and Wednesday night series that he can catch sporadically here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We've seen him pop into Formula V races here before. Him and his son Jameson run Formula Enterprise machinery in real life in the SCCA, and I believe they're kind of based in the same area that somebody who's also a part of Ray Esports royalty, Mr. Morgan Burkhardt, is. So kind of in this same part of the country, kind of mid-Atlantic region, the Virginias, the Carolinas, and all of that. So Huffman currently flexing his muscles and showing some strong prowess over Darmay Toomey, who's been a pretty hot competitor thus far this season, but one who's always been quick is Tortullo. He's down in 8th. That is rather uncharacteristic for the usually indomitable driver.
Yeah, you got to wonder here if he's about to pop in a pretty good lap, and I believe he is about to bring himself up to about P6, so that's going to be a much better lap than the one before. But yeah, down in 6th place is a little bit odd, like last week as well. I don't believe he started in the top 3 either, so we'll see. Maybe he's in a bit of a slump at the moment, or perhaps the drivers in front of him have found something, and they're answering Tor here, but we shall see, and all will be revealed at some point. Christopher Serrano still holding on to first the pole in S2. Looks like we have Jim Brewster up to the pole in Masters, and Justin Huffman, of course, in first, as you were mentioning there. He's taken a few victories in a couple of our other races in the RSCR Club Racing Series there, in a few different types of machinery. So it wouldn't be surprising at all to find him up at the pointy end when it comes to the end of this race as well. But only time will tell. It is a little out of place today for sure. There are a few drivers kind of lower down the field here that will probably be making their way up through the field, I think, Ron.
Yeah, so with the field being not spread out per se, I mean, it's very, very tight throughout the field, but with drivers starting a little bit farther behind than they would usually have in mind, we're going to see some very intriguing storylines develop as we get a little bit farther along here today. Already seeing some meatball flags for both Brian and Dan Szynski, so I don't even know what sort of jumping chaos we're going to see a little bit later on. I will say, and this is honest, it was a test session that I was running around here in the Mercedes W12 or whatever the 2021 Mercedes F1 car was. I can't remember the exact chassis name. I think it was around about then. W11, W12, same sort of deal. But it was heading down into the Titan Twisties into 5 and 6. I managed to flip the car 14 times. I need to post that one day because that clip, you would get whiplash and a little bit of motion sickness just looking at this car twirl around like a ballet dancer.
Yeah, that's the place to do it for sure too. And you know, there's a reason that they don't race really high-powered, high downforce cars around here often, I don't think, and that would be why, because it's real dangerous around here, man. If you go off the course in a few of these very high-speed sections, there's not a whole lot to catch you except the woods and maybe a big mound of dirt or something like that. So it's not a place that you want to take a 14 flipper into the bush, that's for sure, because you definitely can't. You know, we've seen, I think here more than maybe once or twice now, a big enough crash the car actually flies off the track completely, just ballparks, ends up in the pit lane. Going by the clubhouse here, that to me just looks like a Waffle House or something. I don't know if that's looks like a really good place to get pancakes.
Yeah, it honestly does, actually. That's giving me flashbacks to the last time I went to an IHOP, which was back in 2021. It was out in the middle of Toledo, Ohio, by this really shady hotel that we were staying at. The entire awning of this hotel, no, not the awning, like the area outside of it, the walkway outside the door so you could actually get into your room, was slanted down towards the parking lot. They did not need a drain in the shower. If that little, like, bathtub thing wasn't in place, if it was just fully flat, you'd probably be able to run the water, have it go through the door, through the rest of the hotel room, out the front door, and then just fall into the parking lot, no problem. It's very good that I only stayed there one night, because I'm not sure what sort of wild, unintelligible diseases I would have if I stayed in that hotel any longer. The clothing rack was bent. How do they manage that? You know, I'm not going to ask. That seems like a hostage situation gone wrong. This Steven Tucker, currently qualified in 23rd right now, 128.435, 453 for him there. Again, the numbers mixed up. The other Masters racer is out there on the racetrack with Alan Degassis. Currently, Degassis qualified in 6th, top of the Masters racers right now. Is Tucker actually going to pull into the pits? We will get the opportunity to have a chat with Andrew Love in a couple of moments. Ask him what his thoughts are heading off into this round of the championship. But Josh, do we have some championship points to take a look at here, potentially, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. We do. Let's see if we can't kick a quick blimp cam here, and we'll throw some tunes up and see if we can't display some of the points here. What'd you like to start with, Ron?
I think we will start as we usually do with Spec 1 and some of this awesome
Spec
groovy
1.
music that we have got here on SMB. We always love to hear that, although it's probably burned into your memory, Josh. Here's Spec
It sure
1,
is.
and it's led by a driver whose name that we are very familiar with, Tortello, up at the top of the board, but Guido Marzucchi has been very quick thus far this season, currently slotted in second. Darme Toomey is in third. Under the radar performances thus far from Michelle Lynn. Props are due to her. Running in fourth, with Andy Middleton completing her top five. Brian Szynski, your reigning Spec 2 champion, is slotted in seventh, right behind Chris Montgomery, with Felix Samoas, Rodrigo Tostes, and Nate Calacio rounding out your top 10. Let's take a look now at Spec 2, where it is Jason Grider up at the top of the board, was able to get his first Spec 2 win at Montreal a couple of weeks ago. Stephen Westcott right behind Brian Hansen in the third, Dan Szynski in fourth. Gary Kittle in P5, Martin Visser, Michael Ladarula, Russ Telker, Gary Thompson, and Brett Thompson round out your top 10. And now we'll take a look at the Masters category, which is always competitive, always close, and this season is no different. Jim Brewster at 404 over Andrew Love in second at 379. Nick Tullo is in third at 365, with Wayne Martimore in fourth. Alan Degassis in P5, Kurt Nunez in sixth, Stevie Ray Series admin in P7, Jurg Mani in eighth, with Stephen Tucker, Brad Cathcart rounding out your field, although Tucker and Cathcart yet to score some points. That's how it looks in the championship standings. And speaking of the Masters racer that's slotted in P2 and the sponsor of today's broadcast, Josh, I'll let you do the honors of having a chat with the man himself, that being Andrew Love.
Andrew, thank you, first of all, for sponsoring today's race at Summit Point. And we got to ask you, we've all been here, quite a few times in our iRacing careers, and actually even on the Weekend Warriors. What are you looking for out of today's race?
Looking for a win, but I don't think it's going to happen. There's a lot of folks out there who are very fast. But the weather's gorgeous. The weather steward has changed the time to August 1st, so we're all happy about that. Be a nice, bright, sunny day, and just enjoying the weather, enjoying the races.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's one of these races when everybody out there has this track's number sort of thing is the day that you got to keep it as clean as possible and just try to get through it. And it's going to take a bit of aggression, I think, to get a win today, but you've been able to be up there in the pointy end a bunch. So good luck out there, Andrew, and thank you for sponsoring today's race, man. Can't thank you enough.
Sure thing. Yeah. Speaking of aggression, we had the last night was the Friday night draft party, and I was very aggressive in that, and for two races in a row, I took out my buddy Jim. So I took Jim Brewster out on the third to last lap last night, and I took him out on the last lap last weekend. So I'm going to try to not do that again. So I believe
that is a good. Yeah, there we go. So today's word of the day then is keep your nose clean and don't run into Jim.
And don't run into my buddy. Yeah.
All right. Excellent, Andrew. Well, we'll see you out there,
thing.
man. Good luck, and thanks again for today.
Oh, sure thing. No problem.
And that right there was Andrew Love. I think that's good advice. Don't run into Jim Brewster. Not only is he Andrew Love's buddy, he's also the series admin here in this series. So that's kind of a rule of racing. Don't run into the people who sign your paychecks, and don't run into the people who officiate your races. I think that's a pretty good rule to go by. We can now switch our attention into the race. You can tell it's packed because we can see the back legs of some of these people in the grandstands. They're amped up for this race, although their 2D faces do not show it. They're certainly excited, as we are here on this show. Let's take a look at the starting grid. Justin Huffman going to start this race from the pole. Brian Szynski going to join him on the front row. Darme Toomey is in third. Nate Calacio in fourth. Samuel Parent will start in P5 with Alan Degas as your Masters pole sitter alongside in sixth. Jim Brewster will be in P7. Tortello is alongside in 8th. Andrew Love will start in 9th with Christopher Siriano, your Spec 2 pole sitter, completing your top 10.
And then in 11th place, the Canadian Rob Wright will man the 11th place position. In 12th, we have Michelle Lynn, Series Admin, Duldime Racing. In 13th, we have Angel Soto. 14th, Kurt Nunez. In 15th, we have Dan Trzynski. In 16th, Rodrigo Tostes. Jason Grider's in 17th. Nick Tullo is in 18th. 19th is Brian Hansen, and Stefan Westcott is in 20th place.
And then looking through just a few more racers, Stephen Hicks in 21st, Wayne Buttermore in 22nd, Stephen Tucker in 23rd, with Travis Trussell not setting a qualifying time, running after 24 starters. As per usual, we have a short pace lap, one driver down pit lane. I believe that may be Nick Tullo. We'll look for confirmation in a couple of moments' time. For now, though, waiting for that green flag to come out here at Summit Point for round number 7 of this season. Waiting for the green flag to fly, which it has now, and the drivers are on their way. We're racing downtown into turn number 1. This monumental run for these Formula Vs. You can grow gray hairs by the time you head your way into the braking zone. Who's going to win out in this fight? Look at Tortolo trying to stick it 3 wide on the outside. That small little patch of asphalt. Hang on to it, buddy. 3 wide racing, fanning out a little bit farther behind. Justin Huffman leading over Brian Szynski, over Nate Coliseo. Looking at Tortolo, still trying to make hay while the sun is shining. He's jumped his way up into 4th. He's side by side with Dorme Toomey in that scrap for P4, as he's going to look to maybe get a moved on Nate Coliseo sooner rather than later. Still side by side racing behind, involving the likes of Michelle Lynn and Kurt Nunez.
Yeah, I was trying to get in the pack a little bit here, just see how frenetic it can be through that section. There's a bit of a choke point here just behind these group of cars, and then, man, do you ever have to get it woed up here. And we're doing a great job here so far. Everybody is doing a very good job of staying off each other. Really difficult on the first lap run to get through that first sort of kink in that section out into the kind of sandbox area there that you can just get ejected into if you happen to be on the outside of someone. But you know, I think we've been here so many times, we've learned the lessons. So, you know, you can't go too wide through a couple of the sections of this course, or at least it's not very smart to do so, especially on the first lap. And it looks like we've learned that lesson here, and we're going to get away with it. So no incidents on the first lap here so far, Ron.
Yeah, it's been a smooth start here. I was expecting a little bit of chaos, but nope, we're going to save that for lap 2. As look at Tortolo sticking it 3 wide. That's himself, Coliseo, and Brian Szynski downtown into the braking zone. Turn number 1. It's now going to turn to 3 wide racing, just swapping out Szynski for Huffman. Tullo going to take the race lead downtown through there out of 2. Now going to have 2 cars right behind him, looking to pounce Huffman with the run on the high side. Going to hold on to the inside line into 3. That'll benefit the driver of the 1-2-3 car. He jumps up into P1. P2 is Tullo. The Coliseo running in P3, but they're still side by side. Now Tullo looking to fight back. This is on the outside, and the downhill approach through 4 into the 5, 6, 7, and 8 section. The tight and twisties in the middle part of this lap. Huffman and Tullo continue to scrap. Nate Coliseo has a fantastic view of this, and he would be the one to pick up the pieces in case these two have to come to blows.
Yeah, some great racing up at the front here for sure. Huffman not giving it up easy to Tor, and that's exactly what you have to do here. You're going to have to send a bit of a message right away that, nope, I'm not going to just allow you to run away with this race here or even lead it for a lap. I want to be in the front, and that's exactly what you have to do here. Tor's going to try up the outside here into the final corner. Again, he's going to make that one happen, so that's a bit of a, you know, he's going to facilitate that pass, Justin Huffman. He's going to allow Tor through. He knows that if he tries to fight that, they're just going to get caught by the just pack of cars behind them. So you got to try to keep that overall speed up, that momentum up through every corner, and that was a really good choice from Justin there.
Yeah, you do have to play ball a lot in these races. Think about what's the maneuver to pull off now to set yourself up well a little bit later on. Oh, contact made Jim Brewster around. Angel Soto, Michelle Lynn involved in that. They stack them up big time. Andrew Love and Alan DeGasse has got a piece of that action as well. That's going to blow the Masters class wide open. I think Wayne Buttermore got collected in that as well. That cut the field down to size quite a lot. They're still wrecking a little bit farther behind. Stephen Tucker has been able to take the Masters lead. He's down at a lucky spot, P13, which is kind of fitting considering the falling anvil that just came down on the field.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one, wasn't it, Ron? Catching the aftermath here a little bit. I believe that was from Angel's point of view. We'll see if we can't rewind this a little and see where it kicked off exactly. But yeah, that was a really big one and took out a huge chunk of the field there. We can see some, whoa, we're seeing some avoidance there. Wow, that was quite the avoidance. You know what? We might have to jump back on board here with someone and see exactly what it looked like from their point of view. So we're seeing Kurt Nunez here just picking his way through and not going to quite make it, is he, unfortunately. But We'll get you. Wow, just crash after crash after crash there. I'll do my best to try to get a better view of that here shortly. But back up at the front here, we are switching positions again. Nate Colascio momentarily taking the lead.
Yeah, Colascio saying the fastest lap of the race last time by, trying to jump into that top spot, but Tortolo is still all around him like the plastic on Grandma's couch. Shout out to Jared Gregory for that saying. Tolo in P2. Stephen Westcott dropping out of the race. I also saw some smoke as the field headed their way out of the final corner. I think Alan DeGassis may have found himself involved in some trouble. Yeah, a 150.0 last time by. I wonder if it was actually in the pits with damage, although we will have to check out a lot of things. We got 4 drivers in the pits right now. Trussell, Soto, Lynn, and Siriano. Colascio and Tullo still side by side up at the front end of the field. As let's take a look at another replay of this. It was Jim Brewster side by side. I think that may have either been Soto or Rob Wright. It was Soto. And then Brewster spinning into the side of Michelle Lynn and all of that. Alan DeGassis and it was Alan DeGassis and Andrew Love getting involved in that. Wayne Baltimore briefly escaped with the race lead until he got clobbered from behind as well. If we want to see a wild shot in all of this, I think it should probably be with your now current Masters leader, who we were following qualifying a bit earlier. It was Stephen Tucker who jumped into that top spot in the 930 car. That is the definition of the seas parting for him. I think he gained about 10 spots in the span of about 10 seconds.
Yeah, we'll see if we can't have a look on board with him here, see if we can see what happened. And it looks like, again, in T1 here, we can't see it, but it looked like there was a bit of wide drifting there from the inside car. I forget who it was now. Whoa. Wow, yeah, so that was some pretty good avoidance. A little bit of luck there, too, I think, Ron.
Jesus smiled upon him kindly there. Otherwise, he would have gotten caught up in about 15 accidents. Oh, man, you know, I expected some chaos. We've already gotten it, and we are not even 6.5 minutes into this race, just a little bit over that. In fact, Justin Huffman, Tortolo side by side for the race lead. At this point, you see the side by side battling, fighting. Nick Flag, learning Guando.
Battling.
You see it
it's
go
a new
on
word.
and up. Yeah, faddling. There we go.
It's fighting with
my
battling.
Mark on the English language somehow. Fighting and battling. They're faddling up at the front of the field. That sounds like a cooking technique. I'm not really sure how I feel about that.
Don't repeat that at dinner and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, there we go. Bon appetit, everybody. But Huffman and Tullo going side by side as often as they have been. They're still side by side, heading their way into the final quarter. It gets to the point where you can't even call it out because it's just such a common occurrence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much every lap trying to keep up with it here. They're going to be battling each other into T1. And, well, as we've seen here, it's not just going to be T1. It's basically the entire racetrack here. They decided to go side by side, pretty much an entire lap there, I think, in front of the cars in front of them. So, you know, we're going 2 by 2 here now into T1. Tor on the inside, Colascio on the outside. Going to try and make that one work. Looks like Tor's going to win that one out. Colascio going to take the wide line, try to bring it back in to remain in front of Samuel Parent, and I believe that's Dan Straczynski just back there as well, along with some Justin Huffman, Darmid Toomey. So, you know, we got a pretty good group of fast drivers here up at the front, and so far they've been able to stay off each other. We're still pretty early days in the race. As we know, things kind of seem to tighten up a little bit as the race progresses on and as it gets closer to the buzzer, let's call it. But man, what a huge breakup of the field here. You can see this gap now. There used to be a big pack of cars here, and now they're all behind here, still racing. So this is Tucker, and I believe that's Jim Brewster on the inside, racing for whatever they can get back. And we got Andrew Love back there as well, who also got caught up in it. Unfortunately, today's race sponsor not faring too well through that one.
Yeah, so many falling anvils coming down on the field. You gotta wonder whether this track is just cursed. I will say, though, it's given us one heck of a battle here in the Masters category. It's also given us this battle up at the front that has been intense really ever since the drop of the green flag, as should be expected here at Summit Point. We've seen some fantastic photo finishes. I always bring this up in reference to the Formula V's as we're 2 by 2 up at the front. Just quick mention of that, if anybody, okay. Nate Colascio blocking Tullo like a madman, heading going
block.
down into turn number 1. That could have ended in catastrophe. Thankfully, they kept it clean. I always like bringing this up. It was last year when I was doing the Bathurst 12-hour broadcast on the iRacing channel. It was a clip from the Formula V race that I was covering later on that afternoon that ended up on the iRacing social media pages. Shows you that these Vs at Summit Points, they are a clip factory. Albeit, it's also probably the spot where Formula V body makers tend to make their money.
Yeah, you're probably right for sure. Especially after the race here, we saw them practicing during qualifying as to where they were going to wreck their cars. I'm not exactly sure where that was. Nick Tullo pushing the 245 almost off the racetrack there. That was pretty close. I'm not sure he even quite saw him there, but just down here on the 127.066 fastest lap of the race here from Nick Tullo. So the Tullos, whether you're down in 17th or you're up at the front, got some pace out there for sure. And now he is locked in a pretty heavy-duty battle here with Stephen Hicks, who just got around him on the outside, looking like he is making a bit of a dash for the front at the moment.
Yeah, so as everybody starts to turn that small little sprint into a full-on run, who's going to try and run away from who? Who's going to try and run up to the front of the field? Looking at this pack of cars, this is rush hour traffic in a Formula V at 100 miles an hour. That's Justin Huffman nearly thinking about going 3 wide, heading it to turn number 1. He thought better of it, backs out of it. He's still side-by-side with Dorme Toomey and may have to deal with Samuel Parents in the number 4 car as well. Parents, a driver that we don't cover too much here in this series. Well, he doesn't show up too much is the reason why, but whenever he does show up, he always brings the thunder, always brings the speed. That number 4 car is going to be a force to be reckoned with, as is pretty much everybody in this top 6 pack.
Yeah, you're right. We got a bunch of good drivers here, able to kind of stick it out till the end too. Is the real key word there, is that these drivers up at the front make it out till the end. They're probably going to make it to the end of the race. They're clean drivers. They're not going to make any silly moves. They're not going to try to squeeze their competitor off the road or give them absolutely no room whatsoever and make a crash like we saw a little bit earlier there, or we continue to see from a few different drivers out there. They're going to race clean. They're going to give you the room you need. They're going to facilitate that pass and wait till the end and then make their move. And then you might see some fireworks. But, until then, we still have a long time. There's no point in pushing your competitor off the road when you have 2 car lengths beside you. You're just going to cause an incident and slow the entire pack of cars down. And I think maybe we learned that in the back a little bit. I'm not exactly sure who it was on the inside or the outside, or who was at fault there, but it was definitely drivers not giving each other enough room, and that's how we're going to end up in a big crash. And we're 3 wide into T1 here with over 15 minutes left, so we're not even halfway through yet, and we're already going 3 wide into T1.
Yeah, and this is not the first time they've gone 3 wide either. It's such a common occurrence at this point that seems almost second nature for these racers to go side by side in 3 wide, hang down to turn number 1. We've seen in this battle up towards the front. We nearly saw it in the battle for the Masters lead, which Jim Brewster is currently holding on to at the current moment. In the 933 machine has a car in the form of Stephen Hicks as a bit of a buffer between himself and the rest of the Masters field, but still expecting some close and exciting racing as we go through the second half of this race. And we're about to get up and rolling in just a few moments time. Here's Jim Brewster. Talk about a buffer. Yeah, not only does he have the car of Stephen Hicks, he also has a sizable margin. I mean, there's Jim Brewster, and there you can see Hicks and Andrew Love a little bit farther behind. That's about a second and a half, I would say, which isn't a lot in usual racing spheres, but in a Formula V, that is a rather insurmountable gap.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit difficult for sure. If you work with the driver, around you, you might be able to make it back up there, but Jim Brewster's been able to fight his way back here to the lead of Masters, and looks like he's probably going to hold on to it for a bit here. If these guys, if Andrew Love and Stephen Hicks fight too hard here, they'll never have a chance of catching up to him. Maybe if they work together and slingshot a little bit, they can catch up to him, but looks like there's a pretty good race here between Nick Tullo, Kurt Nunez, Andrew Love, all getting in a bit of a race. Kurt Nunez just kind of bringing up the back of that pack there, so he's still got a chance to grab a position or 2 as well by the end of it here. I believe this is about the closest battle on the track right now between, I think this is Jason Grider and Brian Hansen here battling it out.
So the fight's still intense in all of our, in all of the field, frankly, all the classes. We got this battle up in the front with your top 6 racers, all of them Spec 1, all of them contending for the overall win, and the win in Spec 1. Obviously, Tortello, seeing a level of aggression out of him, really cutting it close with a curb on the inside through turn at number 6. He holds on to it and is now up into the race lead. These racers do have to be a little bit wary. I mean, that incident that we saw that wiped out a decent chunk of the field and gave nearly half of the back of the pack damage, that was not very far along into this race. We were only about 3.5 minutes in when all that chaos broke out. The problem with Summit Point in these Formula Vs is because it's so close, so flat out, you're just going to see these packs begin to form. I compared it to the likes of Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta in the other world of the NASCAR series, those plate races that are just super intense, super heavy. In terms of the draft, Justin Huffman trying to do a little bit of lawn mowing. What in the world have we just seen there heading into turn number 1? He's looking to back out, but I think he's saying, nope, not wanting to get involved in this, and I can't necessarily blame him. Summit Point and the mistress judge that rules it. Rules with an iron fist, plays judge, jury, and executioner, and it's only here where a Formula V racer will get hung for shoplifting.
Yeah, it's definitely got hung out to dry there almost. You got a John Deere livery on that car way out in the grass there. I believe there you're right. It was just a kind of avoidance move there. He's trying to kind of get out of the way. But, you know, you mentioned Tullo as well, cutting some shapes, getting a little more aggressive than we've seen him before. And I think really that's just a reflection of the speed of the drivers and aggression of them around him. You know, last season, maybe even the beginning of this season, it was a little easier to walk away with things. Not so much now. You know, there's drivers out there that have Tor's number. They want to stay in front of him now. They think maybe they have a strategy, perhaps, to stay in front of him, and they are deploying it. And we are seeing Tor looking for ways to get around those traps that they're deploying for him. So I think maybe we got a little bit more raciness on our hands here leading into the end of this season. Tor's not just going to be able to run away with stuff anymore, which is great. It means the level of driving is coming up. Tor has helped you know, a lot of these drivers get faster and see if they can't find a way to get around him, as we're going to go too wide into T1 again. Here he's going to go up the inside Darm, and Toomey going to try to follow along here perhaps behind Tor, see if he can't monopolize on that move, but not going to quite make it happen quite yet. They're going to get stuck beside each other here. Probably best to file back in here before the kink and live to fight another day. But some pretty good fighting up here at the pointy end for sure. Jim Brewster, you know, if I'm not mistaken here, almost looks like that pack is starting to catch up.
Yeah,
sorry,
it does
I don't
look
think
like
that's
the,
Brewster, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It is. It's Jason Grider up in the front of it. Kind of similar looking race cars from a distance. Grider with that kind of orangish red kind of color compared to Jim with the full-on red, green, and blue. But yeah, they are starting to close up. That gap has come down. It's still about 2 seconds, which is a comfortable cushion to have. Okay.
Oh,
Coliseum trying to give me a heart attack. That was a sideways snap over the outside curve as he headed his way through 6 and 7. Darme Toomey now going to pounce, get that move done to jump its way in the second. And Samuel Parent going to try and send Coliseum off of the podium. And all that, Tortolo's been able to build a 9/10 of a second gap. If you can build it a little bit more, these racers start to get lost in the sauce somewhat. You're going to see Tullo maybe pull out. That would be rather fascinating to see him just run away with it. Rob Wright coming into the pits, but I'm not worried about the pit lane. I'm worried about what's going on after the pit exit as we run on board with Justin Hoffman. Fantastic view to see all this chaos. Tullo weaving a little bit to try and break that drift, but not chasing his own tail too much. You can see that happen in Formula V races from time to time. Drivers putting in too much effort to break the draft. These cars are so low powered that you can't afford to do much. And just as we were mentioning it one lap ago, Josh, you hit the nail right on the head. Jason Grider is now only 1.3 seconds off the back of Stasinski.
Yeah, it looks like we might have another couple cars to party here up front while Tor continues to try to run away with it here. He's definitely getting a little bit more in draft now, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. He had a chance there perhaps, but you know, all it takes is for Coliseum and Toomey here to get into a little battle with each other, and Tor will run away with that. So you got to be very careful back here if you're Nate Coliseum, especially in how you're going to get this pass done around Toomey. And then Toomey as well kind of needs to facilitate that pass and not hold on to it too much, or you will lose touch with Tor in two corners. you know, one corner after another, maybe 3 corners, probably 2 corners, and you've lost touch with him if you're fighting each other, maybe even 1. So you got to be careful out there for sure, but it doesn't look like he's running away with it quite yet, does it, Ron? That draft is so powerful around here.
The draft is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think there's any other way that we could sum it up. It's pretty much like you have a giant vacuum on the back of these cars. You know, that exhaust pipe does look round about the same size as the vacuum tube for a shop vac, so maybe that's what the engine is. Certainly some shop vacs probably make as much power as a Formula V. These cars are absolutely awesome. We love to see the racing here on SMB week in and week out. Saturdays here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Happy to hit that subscribe button because we have a lot of action to look forward to. Not only this weekend with the Spec Racer Forts running tomorrow, we also have XSLR and the final 3 rounds of that season coming up. Not this Sunday, but next Sunday we'll have the third to last round of that championship with the F3s, SRG F3 as well. A lot of stuff here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We'll touch on a little bit later on, but certainly no shortage of action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. No shortage of action here at Summit Point. We are now past the halfway mark, getting into the final 10 minutes. Happy hour for some, not very happy for others. I think Steven Tucker may have had some sort of off-track excursion heading off into turn number 3. Saw a driver off the circuit. I'm not sure if it was him or not. Looked like a very bizarre place.
It might have been
to be
Grider.
stopped. Oh no.
Yeah, so yeah, we do have a crash here from Grider. We do have one from Stephen Hicks as well. Oh, I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Let's see. We'll go back a little bit more, and it looks like maybe Grider, looks like he's got an off track here. Yeah, that's kind of inconclusive. I'm not sure. Maybe he's having a hardware problem at home, but we'll jump on to Stephen Hicks here, who looks like he's also about to have an issue run.
Yeah, this is heading off through the fearsome turn number 4 here at Summit Point. You got rolling through there, even in a slow little Formula V, and it's going to end in tears. And spin heading off through there, nothing too major. Rejoins the racetrack without any further incident. Bruised tires and a slightly bruised ego there, but nothing too much worse than that. I think these racers should be counting their lucky scores. Whatever. Oh, no! That's Justin Huffman around, heading off through turn number 3. Be careful, this pack right behind Rodrigo Tostas, Brian Hansen, and Dan Zazinski got chew him up and spin him out. Huffman now gets circled down to 9th, and then there were 5 on the front, albeit that pack has now broken up. The top 3 have driven away, and the drivers behind did have to check up after this.
Yeah, like just when we tuned in here, I saw it looked like maybe Coliseo had a real close moment right there, and I think maybe that kind of flustered Huffman a little bit. He was expecting a crash there, I think, and he sort of backed out of it a little bit, and I think it spooked the car behind him. I'm going to have one more look at that, and if you look really carefully here, you can see Coliseo almost have a moment with Toomey. He almost took Toomey out in this corner, and I think Huffman kind of spied it through his eye there, and he was like, oh, there's going to be a crash, and he let off, and no, unfortunately he ended up in it. So I'm not sure if I'm just inner monologuing there, but that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, no, that's what it looked like to me as well, just responding to what looked like some dicing and slicing with those 3 that are still battling 3 wide off into turn number 1. It gets to the point where you just expect it to some degree. But Samuel Perrin, really nothing that he could have done, nothing that any of those racers could have done. That's just the fear with this kind of pack racing, heavy draft racing, doubly so in these FVs. I was comparing it earlier on to NASCAR-style plate racing. Even though a NASCAR stock car, even in the truck series, or even ARCA for that matter, produces a heck of a lot more horsepower than these Formula Vs, the point kind of remains, you got to keep the momentum rolling on a plate track, and in a Formula V, you got to keep the momentum rolling. My road car is a 1985 Oldsmobile Cutlass, and as much as that's been put away for the winter, and I haven't gotten to drive it too much over the past year and a bit, that car, if you have to slow down heading up a hill, you're going to arrive at your destination about 3 minutes later.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, the old junkers. I drove around a really old, well, I still do actually. I drove around I believe it's a 2000 Dodge Ram. So, I mean, it's 26 years old or something now. In really, really good condition still. But you got to baby those old cars a little bit. And they don't like hills and, you know, stuff like that. My engine's still pulling pretty hard. But, man, I've been in some beater cars that didn't like going up hills, or took a hill that should be a minute and make it 5. But back to the front here with Tortello on the inside again. It has really not stopped here at the front, has it, Ron? It's just been back and forth between Toomey, Coliseo, and Tullo here. pretty much Samuel Parent has kind of just been watching this the whole time, hasn't he? We haven't seen him get too up in the mix, make too many passes, or really be in the mix with the cars here yet, and maybe that is going to help him out by the end.
And I like the position that Samuel Parent is in right now. He's learning. He's seeing these racers in front of him, and he's learning how he can try and tackle the end of this race. Because when you're in the thick of it, you can't really see it because you have blinders on. When you're right behind, kind of a spectator in it all, it's tricky. I mean, Josh, you get to cover these Formula Vs with me, have been doing these shows together now for about a year and a half, but you've driven and covered the Weekend Warriors races on Sundays as well. You've gotten to see kind of both sides of it. How difficult do you think it would be to commentate a race while driving in it? It would be very difficult, and you can kind of apply that to Samuel Parent. He's getting the opportunity to learn, see the bigger picture, while everybody else in the thick of it right in front of him, they're just focused on what's going on in the heat of the moment. Parent can sit back here, learn, and strategize.
Yeah, that is a good point. You know, it's you are sitting back here when you're doing this, and you're learning. You're trying to bring in as much of it as you can, and that can pull a little bit of bandwidth, but definitely not quite as much as bandwidth as it would take to actually speak live. I've considered it as we're looking Darmid Toomey up the inside there. I think he's going to think a little better of that one, but that was, I think, more of an intimidation move from Toomey there, going, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it if you let me, and that just kind of keeps you in your mirrors wondering, you know, maybe even getting frustrated out there. Are you serious? Are you going to try to come up the middle of me? And all that does is frustrate the driver, and it pushes him into mistakes, or her into mistakes, and that's what you want to do as another driver. You want to try to get in their head. Darmid Toomey doing a good job of it. But back to the point there, I have considered, you know, trying maybe to do some commentary while I'm driving, maybe on one of these, or vice versa, maybe get someone else to do it. But I think that's either a really good way to lose it driving, or maybe not have such great commentary either. So, you know, but maybe we'll try it one of these days, but that would be very difficult to you know, it's like I've always said, I can kind of talk and have a little conversation, but if you ask me a question I really need to think about, I'm in the wall.
Yeah, and you know, it was one time on a Radical broadcast that we were doing many moons ago. You were on the production for that. It was a show that we used to do for quite some time, and I was driving in that race, and I got dragged in for an interview midway through it, and that was definitely a test. And listening back to that, I sounded like a bumbling idiot, even more so than I already do on the air when I'm just worrying about commentating and not just driving. But it's a very tough task, and you got to focus on different things. I will definitely say here, the male brain cannot multitask. I say this as somebody who used to think about what he would have for lunch as he was driving in his shifter carts. I could not do that nowadays. Maybe I've just whacked my head too many times in the cart since then, and just can't really think in the same sharp way that I used to. But either way, it's a very tough task, and your priorities and your focus is so different when you're behind the wheel. If I was having to commentate this race while involved in this battle, I would just be babbling and occasionally swearing, which does not work well for commentary, I can tell you that much. But we're getting into crunch time with 3 minutes, less than that in fact, left on the clock. They're going to be coming to the 3-lap left to go mark, this time by Nate Colicio is the one leading at the front. That 5-car fight, we thought that it was going to be a full, complete, like 1990s, early 2000s style, like boy band breakup where it all just ends in absolute disaster, and it really hasn't. The drivers are back together. They're on the reunion tour right now, and it's only a matter of time before some sort of breakup goes on once more.
Yeah, absolutely. The reunion tour, exactly. They're back around again for another hit here, and it's going to hopefully not end up being a disaster into T1. I don't think so. They've done really, really well here so far. Samuel Parent actually making a bit of a move here now. He's up ahead of Darmid Toomey, looking like he's making a bit of a ploy for P1 here, and this is definitely the time to go. So he's been waiting. The Canadian here has been waiting patiently to make his move, and now the number 4 is going to make that move, and it looks like this is exactly the right time to do it. So he's got a real good chance today of actually at the very least taking a podium, but maybe even taking a win, Ron.
Yeah, so this is going to get intense. We got some drivers with championship aspirations, either looking to get the crown or just try and get some good results on a way to a good points finish. Of course, Tullo and Darme Toomey, who we're right on board with right now, they've grabbed some wins already this season. They're looking to try and impress. Of course, you got Brian Szynski looking for a good run in his debut season here in Spec 1 after spending last year in Spec 2 on his way to a championship there. And then you've got Samuel Parent and Nate Coliseo. Coliseo and Parent, drivers who have raced in this series before. Coliseo, somebody who used to race on a full-time basis. I think he's kind of dropped down to occasionally compete in these cars. But they're quick. They're very quick, and they're going to look to try and just race here for bragging rights. So with the white flag coming out this time by, everything is still up to bat. Everything is left to be decided. Everything is up in the air. One thing that's in the air now is that white flag. One more lap of racing action here at Summit Point, and that's Tortolo timing his run, trying to go for it on the outside. Samuel Parent downtown into one. Darme Toomey got a good view of it as Brian Szynski and Coliseo start to battle out right behind. Szynski maybe throwing a couple of blocks there. Parent and Tullo still side by side, but it goes away of Parent. Tullo, though, keeps him within an arm's reach and gets a good run out of the turn. The wider approach, not able to draw alongside. I think that's a good call. If Tortolo has shown us anything in his time winning these races here in the Formula V's, he is the drafting maestro. He knows when to time the runs. He's done it here at this track before, and it's resulted in some of the closest finishes that I have ever seen in my entire broadcasting career. Samuel Parent may be feeling at risk, but Tortolo is. Drivers wrecking right behind. Huge clunk there. Tullo gonna lose out on some time. That may give the win to Samuel Parent. It gives a P3 to Justin Huffman. Szynski, Toomey, and Coliseo dropping back down. Coliseo and Toomey, and now running in P4 and P5. Szynski dropping down even more. Stephen Westcott dropping out late. But in all that drama, I thought that it was gonna be Tortolo deciding this race, but it was a drama right behind. A parachutist landing on his back, an errant skydiver. A parachute failed, and down comes Tortolo and everybody else behind. Samuel Parent didn't think we was going to get this win considering where he was heading into the final sector, but he does. Samuel Parent wins it in a stunning finish at Summit Point.
Yeah, what an awesome finish there for sure. Unfortunately, a little bit of argy-bargy behind them there. Maybe we'll go have another quick look at that. We'll make sure we get Brian Hansen coming across the line here for the winner in Spec 2, and Jim Bruce are going to fight back after that incident there for a win in Masters. But unfortunately, right at the end there, we did have a bit of contact. I'll have another quick look at it here. It looks like maybe just people kind of tripping over their braking zone here. We'll slow it down a little if we can. Yeah, and it looks like, oh, you know what? I just missed that with my eyes, Ron. I'm not sure if you caught that. Let's back it up a little bit and see if we can see exactly maybe what happened. So he looks like Brian Szynski looking for an inside line. Darme Toomey's going to get it wrong. Almost take out Tor, and then just in reaction behind him. So Darme Toomey kind of getting it wrong there, huh?
Yeah, like a pack of dominoes, down they all fall. One small little mistake snowballs into a huge moment. Here's the perspective of Toomey. And I gotta say, Tullo kind of braking a little bit early.
Oh, yep.
A bit in the braking zone, but it's either way. It was either going to be contact in that manner, or I think Toomey was going to have to go for it down the inside and have no choice in the matter, and probably result in some sort of incident braking out there. It's still a good result from Tortolo, although it could have been a win had that contact not been made, but you can never say for sure. You know, he had a pack of 3 drivers right behind, all looking for a W themselves. There's a lot of different things that could have gone down if that incident had played out a little bit differently. Now, however, with all the cars having taken the checkered flag, we're going to look at the results in a couple of moments' time. For now, however, I want to see what sort of jumping chaos we're going to get here. Yeah, we do have the jump, the natural jump here at Summit Point.
Oh, and, yeah, he's lining it up.
I'm expecting something majestic.
Yep, he's lining it up just past the Waffle House here, maybe at the Waffle House. There is a massive, massive jump, and he is going to slam it right now. We'll go back and, oh my, yeah, they found it. There she is. Yeah, so we'll go back here, and we will we'll grab as many of these drivers as we can here, hitting this booter, because it's a pretty good booter, one of the better ones in the sim.
Oh god, I could just see right in front. I think my camera angle was a little bit different. I just saw Jason Grider drop down out of nowhere. Oh, that was absolutely beautiful. Let's see this from Nate Coliseo on the Chiquita Banana car. Oh boy, cuts down. Oh!
Whoop, and he's gone.
Oh, there we go. He just drove off into the RV park, problems off. Here's Jason Grider, who had the wild view of it from high end. I think it didn't necessarily convert on the air, but here he is. There you go. And he didn't ballpark it, and then as a kind of twirly-do effect going on there, every single time I see this, the stunning physics on these Formula Vs always amaze me.
Yeah, it does seem once they hit a certain kind of height in the air, he just magicians his way out as we're going to get one more. I don't know who that was, but that was a good one. That was very good. Always fun to see drivers having some fun at the end here. Not something you can obviously do in real life as we see them cartwheeling off into nowhere and ball parking one after another. Pretty funny stuff, Ron, but amazing race. Unfortunate sort of end to it there for a few drivers, but I think overall we had a great race, and the Waffle House looks packed.
Yeah, everybody's very happy inside the Waffle House right by that start finish straight away. The flag man is still waving the flag, and do want to give some love. I'm not sure the origin of this joke, but Dan Szynski now running a Walmart car after appearing as Dan Great Values Szynski last time out. This is, see, there's been a lot of reasons where I've been away from my computer as of recent. We've been redoing the back room, which if I've seen extra wacky on today's show, it's because I've been inhaling paint fumes for the past 24 hours. That may have a slight knock-on effect. And that and shoveling the amount of snow that we got a little bit earlier on this week, I haven't been able to keep up with some of the lore, but I take it that we missed out on some good stuff, so we may have to ask him at some point here soon. But let's take a look at the results. Actually, let's see Michelle Lynn. This is right on top of her head.
Oh, pancakes and waffles today. I'm not sure why that's in my head. Maybe I need breakfast, but yeah, maybe we'll have a look at the results here. What do you say?
Yeah, let's take a look at the results before I see a Formula V car strike the moon, because I'm not sure if my vocal cords would recover from how hard I would laugh at seeing that. Samuel Parent grabs the win. Tortello, even with that drama, he ended up only about a half a second behind in P2. Justin Huffman rounds out your podium in third with Nate Colascio in fourth. Darme Toomey in fifth. Brian Hansen wins it in the Spec 2 category in P6 overall. Stephen Westcott finishes in seventh with Jim Brewster, your winner in the Masters category, in P8. Dan Great Values Szynski in the Walmart car will finish in ninth. Lovely deal for him, with Alan DeGassis rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then today's race sponsor, Andrew Love. A little bit of pitfalls there today, unfortunately for Andrew, but able to come back with a third place in Masters and an 11th place overall. Kurt Nunez is in 12th. Stephen E. Tucker also having a little bit of shenanigans out there in 13th and 14th. Jason Grider 15th. Jason Hicks, Rob Wright will take 16th. Nick Tullo holding the fastest lap of the race for a little while there in 17th. Brian Trzynski will round out the 18th place. Rodrigo Tostes will be in 19th. Michelle Lynn, Series Admin, in 20th. Wayne Buttermore, 21st. Angel Soto, 22nd. Christopher Serrano in 23rd. And Travis Trussell in 24th. I don't believe completed too many laps.
Yeah, so those are your results here in round number 7 of the Formula V weekend. Warriors, pretty wild race from start to finish, I think it is fair to say. But let's move off into the interviews. I think we have one driver looking to have a chat with us at the moment, and it is Masters winner and Series Admin Jim Brewster. Want to ask him about the chaos and the other wild racing that we saw here today, because I think he saw just about every single side of it. Jim Brewster now joining us here in the broadcast booth. Jim, welcome in. Pretty wild one here at Summit Point. What were your thoughts out there?
Yeah, it's we had a really good night last night. And we had a really good pack. Unfortunately, I was involved in a group incident there in lap 3 that broke up the pack. I slid a little bit wide off the bottom lane, and I got together with I can't remember who it was, but anyway, that was
that's what happened. Okay, I missed that a bit. Sorry, Jim. I wasn't sure if somebody came down or if you came up there, but yeah, unfortunate one for sure.
I mean, it's 3 cars wide, and I mean, it's they could have, and they have a good view of it, and they so they could have steered wide, but they did. But anyway. But then we had a good battle. I want to thank Stephen Tucker when I was back in the losers bracket, which luckily all of us Masters were all together, and I figured that out pretty quickly because I saw Andrew and Alan back there, and Kurt Nunez. So I knew I might be leading. So anyway, but Steven Tucker still gave me a really good race for a few laps, and then unfortunately, so one of the things I try to do when you're racing something like that is I took the inside line going into turn 1 to force him to take the outside line, and you have to practice those alternative lines for a place like Summit, and he just been on his own getting in from that outside, and sometimes I that's one of those things is you don't always let the other guy be as comfortable as he can, if you have an option to make him slightly uncomfortable.
Definitely. Yep.
And so I don't know if that was why, but anyway, he spun, so I got away from him, and when he spun, he held up the rest of the Masters, so I had a nice gap, and so that I was lonely for the end of it. And then I got lucky with a couple. I guess we had some action, and all of a sudden I gained a couple of positions. Both Stasinskis there sort of fell back. But a few of us had damage. I think I had damage. I don't know, my lap times weren't so. Andrew and Alan definitely had damage, so they weren't going real fast. But I think it was still, I hope everybody still had fun. Interesting to have a non-regular, a visitor win a race. I think it's great. It was great to see Justin up there, if that was really Justin, and if we're still discussing whether that was Justin or Jameson. But from his pole time, really. But we definitely think Justin can run up front. But when he saw the pole. So originally there was 5 guys on the 0.0 mark on the 27.0, and then all of a sudden he jumped up to 0.9, and then we started questioning. It's like, is that Justin? Because Justin knows the place inside out, no doubt, and he's a national champion in the FE2 car. But I don't know. But sometimes on Tuesday nights, sometimes we've had a Jameson appearance. So anyway, who knows?
Yeah. There's been so many times where we've started off an interview with Justin, quote unquote. I asked a question, and that's Jameson there, and I feel like a bit of a doofus for calling him his dad's name. But either way, it was a fantastic race here at Summit Point. Always expect the action. We're gonna be staying in the Mid-Atlantic though, Jim. Next time at VIR. Now I need to look through. Are we running on the north configuration this year?
Yeah, just the north.
Or,
yeah.
Gotcha.
No, if we run the big one, we end up with a 3-wide squeeze into roller coaster every lap, and it's just a disaster. And everybody seems to enjoy the north. I don't know. VIR is not one of my favorites. It's no doubt it's a good track, and I'm pretty excited about Chicago, because I don't know. Unfortunately, that could be a crash fest, but each of us are going out and learning Chicago.
Oh yeah, Chicago.
We learned it last year with the surf, and
that'll be
the
interesting.
surf, it was crazy fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It's a scary track.
I missed it last year, so looking forward to it.
Yeah. It could be a lot of crashes, unfortunately, because it's especially learning it, and it's so easy just to get a little tiny bit wide and just touch the wall and then set off a chain reaction.
The meat wall.
And there's so many of those walls there.
So many meat walls. Yep.
Turn 3. Oh, it's what they
pretty angular.
A sphincter tightening course.
Absolutely, she's a clencher.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, hey, thanks for everything you guys do. I so enjoy everything this whole community, and you guys are a major part of it. And so
thank you, sir.
I hope you're having fun.
Absolutely,
we
always.
are. Yep. Anyway, see you next week.
Yeah, see you, Jim. Take it easy. That right there was Jim Brewster, Series Admin Masters winner. That's the first time sphincter tightening has ever been mentioned here in a Formula V broadcast on iRacing. See, I was saying that the paint fumes were maybe getting to my head. I feel like the paint fumes have just perfuated here in the broadcast booth. That's I'm getting bad flashbacks now to that Spec Racer Ford broadcast with Adam last year at the Chicago Street Course, because Charles was on vacation if I remember correctly, and that broadcast was
she got a bit loose.
Basically, like it's like 2 stray cats just screaming at each other whenever Adam and I are on the air. So
I think you guys said meat wall or meat about 400 times during that podcast.
We had the meat wall, the wall of meat, the meat chute there.
Meat chutes, meat everywhere. It was meat. There is a lot of, I believe, what is it, a beef sponsor or a burger joint sponsor or something is just plastered over the Arby's. That's right. So it makes perfect sense. You want some folded meat sandwich, go to Chicago, I guess. They really like their Arby's out there. But pretty great race today, I'd say. What do you think?
It was pretty fun. I mean, granted, the drivers are probably very happy that they were able to survive. Remember, as a kid, there used to be the Scholastic Book Fair, and we used to have these little
I remember those. My favorite.
Love that. And
Love it.
I feel like in the Formula V community, there needs to be like an I survived Summit point book written sometimes. But most of the field did, even with that drama a little bit later on. It was the only real bit of chaos outside of a couple of smaller incidents. Every now and then we didn't see a huge field stack up like we have seen in the past year. So overall, some very amazing racing, and expecting some more of it as the Formula Vs head their way off to Virginia International Raceway on the North configuration in 1 week's time. We're going to be looking to seeing how Guido does in that event. Rest assured that the Prince of Virgins is probably going to sit on his rightful throne once more. We have a lot of action to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, just week in and week out. Of course, the Spec Racer Fords are going to be running tomorrow here on SMB, so that's going to be fun as always. Last week was at Aragon in the venture off into the unknown that racetrack is, and seeing what sort of drama we may get there. The American Muscle Series is going to be running round number 4 at the Red Bull Ring this upcoming Tuesday. You can catch that action as always. Sim Racers Group F3 is running at the Miami Autodrome, the brand new track here on iRacing, and the F4s are running on Tuesday, same time as the American Muscle Series as well. Just a whole lot of stuff here on Slow Motion Broadcasting to look ahead to week in and week out, and some more stuff coming up the pipe as well. Delighted that all of you could decide to make SMB be a part of your Saturday afternoon plans. But Josh, I think that'll probably just about do it here from this broadcast of round number 7 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors. We've had our fun, we've had our racing, had a couple of incidents, but overall it's been a very solid day.
Yeah, it was a good one for sure. Good racing out there, and just bringing me back to the Scholastic Book Fair there. Just had a memory of picking up a Goosebumps Lamborghini poster and an eraser that smells like bubblegum, and it brought me right back to when I was in school. But some of my love for motorsports actually started right there, picking up posters of Porsches and Lamborghinis at the Scholastic Book Fair. So I think that's the note I'll end it on.
Yeah, think about the Scholastic Book Fair. I remember one time I got a pencil that smelled of blueberries, and I think looking back on that, smelling that probably shortened my life expectancy by about 5 years. That'll just about do it here for the Formula V Weekend Warriors round number 7 at Summit Points. If you have enjoyed the broadcast and the Scholastic Book Fair trauma, I'm going to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. The subscribe button will not give you a paper cut. If that does give you a paper cut, I got to wonder what kind of phone screen you have. But for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's show, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.